Simmons has Aaron Holiday now on a switch.
Trying to clear out and take him, give him some space.
Here he
Wait a minute here. What did I just watch? Ben Simmons is 6'11". Aaron Holiday is 6'1".
Simmons has Aaron Holiday now on a switch.
Trying to clear out and take him, give him some space.
Here he goes and he slams for my goodness.
How did that happen? Is Ben Simmons a future warrior? The Philadelphia 76ers are going up in flames, and both Ben Simmons and Doc Rivers are looking at each other as a scapegoat for a ticket out of Dodge. The truth is, both play a role in the abysmal failure of the Sixers. While it may be harder to make a case against Doc Rivers directly, his record with the Clippers and the subsequent success by Ty Lue with the same roster minus a top 5 player in the league, no big deal, is very difficult to ignore. Ben Simmons, on the other hand, as the Sixers point guard, directly impacts the outcome of each and every game with what he does on the court. There are arguments being made for the real reason behind Ben's issues, in that it's not so much his shooting percentage behind the free throw line as it is the fact he just won't shoot and is afraid of actually getting to the line. Now, these problems are the most difficult to diagnose because presumably it is a fixable issue. Hitting 3 out of 10 free throws for a professional player is well below the norm. Most any casual hooper can easily knock down 4 or more out of 10, so there is definitely recourse. But as with anything else, it is a gamble, and most teams don't have an extra $145 million laying around to gamble with. That $145 million is how much Ben is set to make over the next 4 years on his current contract. This is just the most recent year of failure for the Sixers, and if they hope to win a championship, changes will have to be made. Last year, it was all but declared that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid wouldn't be able to win a championship side by side, and this year, with a presumed improvement in coaching, team seems to be worse off after losing to the Hawks in a Game 7. Hence the dilemma of who's to take the blame. Is it Doc Rivers or Ben Simmons? Seeing that this issue did exist prior to Doc Rivers arriving in Philly, it is likely the Sixers are looking at Ben at the moment and what they can do about him. This is essentially the basis for the trade rumors regarding where Ben could go and which team would be best for him. The Warriors came up as a preferred destination, and so I took this as my opportunity to say, not so fast. But before that, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel as we get into this. In order to really understand what is going on with Ben and to determine if it would be worth it to trade for him, we'll have to do a bit of digging to find out why this issue even exists in the first place and whether or not it can be fixed. Let me just say, however, that Philly is getting karma for giving up on Markelle Fultz too early. Just kidding. So Ben Simmons was selected by the 76ers as the first overall pick in the 2016 NBA draft. He's a 6'11" point guard, which is just absurd, and he's also the third player out of Australia drafted first overall into the NBA in a span of 11 years, along with Andrew Bogut and Kyrie Irving. His father, Dave Simmons, was an all-star and champion while playing in the Australian National Basketball League. Upon entering high school in Australia, Ben left to play against tougher competition in the US and played for Montverde Academy from his sophomore year onward. Upon leaving Montverde and with the intention of becoming a one and done, he spent the next year at LSU. In his lone year at LSU, Ben averaged 19 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists. An insane stat line for a freshman. But was Ben's current issue foreshadowed back then? It turns out Ben shot 67% from the free throw line and 33% from 3 on very low volume. By low volume, I mean Ben hit 1 of 3 attempted threes his entire year in college. So the Sixers knew he didn't like to shoot, but figured they'd risk it for a biscuit. They for sure didn't think they'd be this thirsty this quick. For a splash? Perv. His performance in other categories just couldn't be ignored, and his level of shooting is unprecedented, so no one really could have seen this coming, and the Sixers would have been foolish not to take him. The expectation is that with a proper shooting coach and time in the league, Ben would feel more confident in attempting jump shots, and with time his free throw percentage will come around as well. Only that didn't happen. Ben's numbers are down across the board this year, and with the intense scrutiny surrounding his game, things only got worse from there. In this year's playoffs, Ben made 34% of his free throws. This is historically bad. Shaq's 9 of 27 in 07 is the only performance that I could think of that comes close to Ben's free throw shooting this year. The increased volume should have given Ben the edge here. He's also a point guard, not a center. Or is he? If NBA scouts and executives thought his shot was able to be improved, then they were likely correct in that assumption. There's a lot more going on here than meets the eye. Just as when Markelle Fultz had his shooting woes, I didn't immediately think he just sucked or was a poor shooter. My first thoughts were that A, something was wrong, and B, it has nothing to do with the player's actual ability. In the case of Fultz, his ailment was known as neurogenic thoracic outlet syndrome, or TOS, which affected the nerves between his shoulders and neck. It took a while to get the diagnosis for Fultz, but they did eventually get around to it. For Ben, it isn't as clear cut. Though I hate getting into this stuff as I absolutely cannot bother with drama, it came as a consequence of extensive research. If you recall, Ben had been having some relationship issues with his on-again, off-again girlfriend, Kendall Jenner. The two had been together since 2018, were separated when some pictures surfaced of Jenner's PDA with another individual, and then last year between March and June, Jenner seemed to have moved on to the Suns' Devin Booker. Since then, Ben's shooting woes seem to have taken a nosedive. The issue compounded as the media locked onto Ben's performance, and needless to say, this didn't help the situation at all. While it is obvious Ben had issues shooting before being drafted, there are likely some behind-the-scenes sensitivity issues going on that have made Ben's already bad shooting take a horrid turn for the worst. Now, that's a bit of speculation, however, he has no confidence in his shot to begin with. His relationship issues likely weigh on him heavily, and now both are being highlighted in the media. Considering Ben isn't really a hype-driven individual, it would make sense how this would negatively impact his level of play. If you notice, despite having dated in the Kardashian family, Ben seems to be somewhat of a quiet guy, seemingly awkward at times, but with a professional demeanor. He's a very competitive player, and when confident, he does talk here and there. A lot of the media echoed that one play where he completely passed up a wide open dunk, but I don't think that play in particular means much. We've seen other players do similar things, including LeBron and Lonzo. That type of attitude mirrors his personality in life, and that he's very team-oriented and doesn't really look to get his own that much. And considering Joel Embiid is the alpha in Philly, Ben doesn't have much of a choice but to accept the beta role. The media excitement surrounding his underwhelming performance just adds more fuel to the fire and ensures Ben performs worse rather than better. The fact, however, is that this all went down in Philly, and the Sixers don't have much of a choice. If you ask me, it would be beneficial not just to Philly, but to Ben himself as well if he was able to get to a much better situation. While his defense is great for his current team, he is just unable to get himself into the right mental space where he can actually contribute meaningfully on the offensive end. While Philly likely doesn't care too much where Ben goes, as long as it's not a team in the East, Ben cares where Ben goes. Rumors to the Trailblazers, the Timberwolves, and the Warriors all seem to be better landing spots than staying in Philly, but only one of those teams matters for this video. So we've established Ben's issues, when they started, and that there is likely a way to rectify them. Does Golden State have what it takes to get the best out of Ben? Well, if any franchise can do that, it is the Warriors. Is it worth it for the Warriors, however, is the next question. What can the Warriors hope to get out of Simmons if we traded for him, and what would the team have to give up? The only way to tell if it's worth it is to explore what it would take for the Warriors to acquire Simmons. Based on salaries alone, the Warriors would have to continue to embrace the luxury tax. Assuming Steph, Klay, and Wiseman are off the trading block, that leaves Draymond and Wiggins, one of which would be needed to match Ben's salary. Draymond's ties to the team are rock solid, so while I wouldn't say Dre is completely off the table, especially in a trade such as this, it isn't as likely that he would be traded as it is that Wiggins would be traded. In this scenario, the Warriors give up Wiggins and both first-round picks to get Ben. The 76ers lose a marginal amount of defense and size, as well as a primary distributor, but in return they get a solid starting caliber player that puts up 20 points per game that can create for himself and others in a pinch, is an excellent defender who also isn't afraid to shoot the ball, plus 2 lottery picks in what many are considering to be the most talented draft class in a while. If you're the Sixers, this is a very enticing deal, considering there is no further upside for Ben in this situation. The Warriors get an all-star caliber player with the potential to be even better. They also get additional facilitating on the first unit, and if used in the same capacity as Wiggins, this will add more facilitating to the second unit as well. This will increase ball movement, and with Steph and Klay's floor spacing, Ben will be able to eat up the space in the paint as he is extremely mobile for an almost 7-footer. The fact that James Wiseman is a scoring-oriented big who can do it at all 3 levels, this puts less pressure on Ben to provide outside scoring, and him playing alongside Wiseman would immensely accentuate Wiseman's abilities on the floor. Between Wiseman, Klay, and Steph, there should be enough scoring. Caveat being, of course, if both Steph and Klay are on the floor. So the team could still thrive if Ben Simmons' shot doesn't develop. If this situation allows Ben to expand his game, being in a new environment, then this would be a steal for the Warriors to acquire Ben. Plus we get a healthy rivalry between the Warriors and the Suns between Book and Simmons, so what's not to love about that, right? While Wiggins has been very good for the Warriors, he does seem to have a ceiling, and while he did improve his 3-point percentage to 38%, it isn't impossible to think that the front office might find Ben to be a better fit because of the fluid ball movement the Warriors have enjoyed in the past. I will admit that at first I wasn't really a fan of trading for Ben Simmons. However, after doing the research, I've concluded that this is a trade that could definitely benefit the Warriors. Let me know what you think in the comments if this is a trade that Bob should make, and if you are the Sixers, do you make this trade as well? Big shout out to my subscribers. I enjoy reading your comments and reply to as much of them as I can. You guys have some great ideas, so keep posting, and if something catches my eye, you may see it in a video. You guys are the best. Till next time.
Ben, why you no swish?
A block so hard, sweetie get served. Call me Lonzo Ball, bitches get swerved.
Usually I don't get down with these girls, but tonight it's on my mind, so I might eat these words. I just wanna watch